So maybe we begin with like what is a good definition that kind of limits caretaking or like helps us see caretaking? I think some people when they first hear it, if using it in out in the wild, caretaking can mean a whole lot of things. Many of them are fine, like you bring soup to your sick friend or something, like those are fine things, but like in a circling context and maybe also just in trying to build more conscious connection with people, what would you say is the caretaking that we should talk about?
Yeah, I appreciate you making that distinction because it's like circling context and kind of circling adjacent, which is like different healing modalities, uh, those kinds of discussion circles. I see it used among mental health professionals, whatever. This definition, caretaking, and to differentiate this definition, caretaking, from kind of what kind of gets used out in the wild amongst the general public, they say caretaking versus caregiving. So if you look up on the internet, caretaking versus caregiving, they do a pretty nice job of delineating the difference. Uh, Definition of caretaking is when I am doing something to help you uh, for my purposes. And that's very like pithy and abstract. But like I think the easiest way to get accessibility to this is like you think about your mom who's just like, did you pack a warm enough coat? Did you pack your lunch? You know, your mom just continually like reminding you about things, and you're like, I'm fine, I'm fine, I'm fine, I'm fine, with the notion that the caretaker wants to give help more than the caretakee needs it, and often more than the caretakee wants it. The idea is I'm having an experience in me, which is usually some kind of like anxiety or something, because of something I see about you, and therefore I need to change you. I need to fix your state. I need to solve some life problem for you. I need to spare you like the possible impact of some negative thing you'll have in the future because that makes me really uncomfortable that you would face that.
I just, wow, that definition is making me realize there's like this that discomfort leads to either like this caretaking, and that I think that's also a common cause of anger between people, is like I'm nervous on your behalf, and so like, stop, you can't behave that way. There's like this there's like an angry version of controlling someone else's behavior to like manage yourself, and then caretaking, it's almost like caretaking gets such a pass because uh it's not angry and violent and like, obviously obstructive to human flourishing. So there's a way that it's like more pernicious because it's like, you know helping someone, or it takes this form that's maybe more, even though it's controlling, it's like more, what I want to say, socially acceptable or something.
Yeah, I think that's well put.
And there's also super subtle forms of caretaking that, at least my experience now, because I've had my attention on this, it's like, oh, like these deeper levels of very subtle caretaking that I find myself doing, where I'll feel like I'm in my experience, I'll feel like I'm in my body, I'm grounded, but then something will come out of my mouth and it will occur to me, like it won't even occur to me until after the fact, that what I was doing was coming from an unconscious motive, an unconscious intention, an unconscious expectation of the other person, like without even really being aware of a very intense level of activation that would be leading to that. Like, I think the deeper you explore, my most recent example is that, we at least I find myself going to these like very specific tools or ways of interacting in a circle. And one of the things I'll ask is like, well, where do you feel that in your body? And I realized recently that I asked that question, and it wasn't because I wanted to really know where they were feeling it in their body. It was because I wanted them to do it. Like I was actually trying to control their experience without even fully realizing, and it's like a very subtle form of control or of caretaking without naming like, oh, I have a desire for you to check in on yourself. It was, oh, where do you feel that in your body? Like, because these like grooves of, just this is how I show up in circling and, but that, yeah, there's just such an incredible subtlety to it at times, especially for people like me who historically I have been the caretaker or the people pleaser, or, that's like, I'm a recovering caretaker, people pleaser. Like I'm on that end of the spectrum. And I think there are people on both ends of the spectrum that are kind of figuring out where they are.
Yeah, I definitely agree on that one. The where do you feel it in your body move is like that's just kind of like a circling move to do that kind of cuts through narrative, cuts through kind of maybe the speed and kind of cerebral nature of something that might be going on, and cues the person right into their immediate experience. And so it's kind of a move that if we're squirming out of like the actual circling zone, it brings us right back to it. So I found that to be a really valuable move when I'm especially like with newbies and I'm trying to get them to have an experience of what circling is like. But yeah, I definitely agree with you on that one. I do have that experience of like, I want to change your experience instead of like owning that I'm doing this because I want to change your experience, or I'm doing this because I want to get us back into a circling mode even.